TaxRep Network is brought to you by Bench, America's largest bookkeeping service for small businesses. Bench is committed to supporting business owners that have fallen seriously behind on their books, something that is all too common in representation work. They combine powerful technology and an in-house expert bookkeeping team to deliver accurate financials for every year of missing returns. Bench specializes in tough cases, solving even the most complex, difficult, and time-consuming client challenges. Working with Bench means more time for you to focus on actively working rep cases, problem solving, and growing your practice. What's more, they're fast, meaning you'll be keeping clients and revenue officers happy. It's a win-win. One of the greatest things I found is that if it's a really big, messy case, they can throw more and more people at it versus anyone I could find locally. Once Bench helps your clients fully catch up, their monthly bookkeeping service keeps them out of trouble, ensuring you can provide a truly lasting resolution. Bench's partner program is perfect for tax pros that need a dependable resource they can trust to get their clients caught up. With meaningful partner benefits and dedicated support, Bench already works with many TaxRep members. Find out more at www.bench.co/taxrep. That's www.bench.co/taxrep. So how do I call the IRS and get through much faster? How do I avoid those courtesy hangups that the IRS does? I use Call ENQ. ENQ is a service that you can use to get through to the IRS much faster, get to a representative, and basically get your case resolved. We set up a special arrangement for TaxRep Network listeners where you can try the service, get 200 minutes for $19.95. For less than $20, you get 200 minutes and you will save hours and hours and hours of time and frustration. Just go to callenq.com/TRN. Again, callenq.com/TRN as in TaxRep Network. Try the service. It will literally change your practice. How do I manage my tax rep practice? How do I get transcripts? How do I track what is going on with the IRS with every single one of my client cases? How do we complete the offer forms, the powers of attorney, everything? We use Tax Help software. Tax Help software is the cornerstone of our practice. We use it for its intelligent ordering. Every single night, it will update the transcripts on our clients, so we will see things happen long before those letters even go to the mail. We can then, react. We can let the client know. We can get all the transcripts we need to determine what our client's best options are, when is the debt going to expire, and we can fill in all of the IRS forms and get them filed accurately, the analysis done correctly. If you're interested in giving it a test, go to taxhelpsoftware.com, use promo code TaxRepTrial, all one word, all caps. You will get a free 2-week trial. Again, that's taxhelpsoftware.com, TaxRepTrial, all caps for a free 2-week trial. If you love it and want to buy it, use TaxRep10, capital, all caps, TaxRep10, TaxRep10, all caps, one word. You'll save 10% on your purchase. It will be the engine that runs your tax rep practice, just like it's what we use for ours. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's Eric Green. For some strange reason, I seem to know a lot of former Navy SEALs. And one of the comments I've heard from more than one is this concept, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, of keep your world small. Basically, it's a concept that it struck me, one, because it makes complete, common sense. But many people struggle because they can't keep their world small. And honestly, this is very timely advice these days. COVID, politics, the news, the government seems to have gotten crazier. The clients are getting crazier. You know what I mean? I have many tax rep members, listeners who struggle with this. So instead of my just blathering on about what I think about it, I thought it'd be great to bring an expert on to explain what it means to keep your world small, why it works in all facets of your life, and how you can put this to work for you. So to dive into this area and how to implement it, I'm joined by Steve Just. I've known Steve Just literally as long as I can remember. I think since I was 4, but my dad and I were having a debate about that. Steve grew up near us in Massachusetts. He, his brother, and his father were all martial arts students of my dad's. My dad coached them in high school football. Steve was also one of my first babysitters and gave me the greatest gift. I remember vividly. It was a white SWAT van with all the little plastic figures, and I played with that thing like forever. So Steve graduates from high school about 10 years ahead of me, and follows his brother into the United States Navy, ultimately becomes a Navy SEAL. After 22 years of being a SEAL, he retired and continues as a second career consulting for businesses, governments, as well as the military, and is all over the place. If there's anyone who's had to focus and keep his world small, it's Steve. So Steve, thanks for coming on and doing this.
Well, Eric, it's great to be here. And, I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of your show. And as we grow up, you learn by influences, and both Bobby and I, we've been blessed to know your family. Your dad is one of the influencers in our lives and has helped us in many facets of our lives. We learn a lot of lessons. You talk about SEAL team and you got to go through BUD/S first. And, we learn a lot of lessons as we go through BUD/S and SEAL teams, but it all started, to be honest, it started with your father as well as my father. They've demonstrated how to persevere, how to focus, how to keep moving forward, no matter how tough things get. So your family has had a major influences on my successes and throughout my life. So it's an honor to be here and give something back. So I appreciate you inviting me on.
No, it's funny because I feel the same way. In fact, what's weird is, probably without knowing it, you and Bobby have actually been extremely helpful to me, even in the breaks since we've spoken, because I would not have gotten through BUD/S. I'm fairly certain. Part of it was never really my drive to do that. And again, the guys that I have met, it was like a calling. Like if you asked them, that's all they wanted. They read the Men with Green Faces, and that's all they wanted to do. Some of them told me then they found the Road Warrior series and made the mistake of thinking that was an actual factual set of books. But anyway, knowing what you guys could accomplish, it is one of those things that, and honestly, for people listening, you could have mentors you've actually never met. I do. There are people I listen to. I've never met them. I feel like I know them. I think this is probably what Hollywood stars go through. People come up and think they know you, and you've never met them. You're like, get away from me. But no, it's great, and it's great for you to come on and do this. One of the things, Steve, that we get a lot of, I have the law firm. I have tax rep, the coaching, the community. I'm married. I have 4 kids. I have hobbies, right? It's people would call it work-life balance or whatever. I think what it is I have a lot of members that email, a lot of listeners that email, and they talk about the fact that they just get overwhelmed. And I don't know if you've felt like this, or you probably have, but it's almost like a spiral, right? You start with, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And you almost start talking yourself out of it. Like it's like a negative spiral. And, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, again, to go back to that advice about BUD/S, is this idea of, and again, the way it was put to me is keep your world small, or basically focus on the task or the evolution, whatever it is you have in front of you. Don't worry about the big, because you get overwhelmed, right? Just focus on that small. So if you don't mind, for the listeners who have no idea what we're talking about, what is BUD/S?
Okay, well, first of all, BUD/S is Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Team, or SEAL training. It's 6 months of what I would say physical and mental hell. It's broken down into 3 phases, 2 months each. Your first phase is really all your physical conditioning, just to get, what it does, it breaks you down and then builds you back up physically. And the second phase for us was diving phase, and the third phase for us was land warfare. But you have to go through 6 months, you have to complete 6 months of BUD/S before you can even get to SEAL team. So it's our basic training for the SEALs to get into SEALs.
Right. And again, for those people listening, it is generally considered, and I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, first of all, you're not a Navy SEAL when you finish BUD/S. You've just gone through this elimination process, if you will, this physical test.
It's what it is you have like three steps. You got to take a screening test first to even get in. And that's nothing more than just, do you have the physical capacity to be able to have a chance to make it through BUD/S? If you don't have the physical capacity, they're not even going to waste their time and the money to send you through it. And then you have BUD/S, which is really, it's a vetting process, in my opinion, to get into SEAL team. But it's a 6-month interview, so to speak, you know. So, but there's a lot involved. There's a lot involved in BUD/S. But I want to touch on one of the things you said, as far as the evolution, take one step at a time. When we were going through, you didn't even think about the next meal. You thought about completing the evolution you were on and taking that into baby steps. And then once you complete that, then you focus on the next one, and then you focus on the next one. Hopefully then you get a meal and you go back and do the same thing. So to get back to being overwhelmed, the problem that I see with people that get overwhelmed is they're thinking of the bigger picture instead of breaking it down, like you said earlier.
And there are times when it's good to step back, have a cigar, and think about the big picture.
Sure.
But how I do what I do, is, first of all, I'm nuts. I tend to get up between 4:30 and 5 a.m. And you can get a lot done before the rest of the world is up and moving, and the enemy is, on the move and whatever else. I can get a lot done. No one's bothering me. And I have a game plan for the day. And the idea is just to not, like you said, knock off, not evolutions, but knock off the next thing in front of me. But it's easy to get overwhelmed. And especially, as you and I were talking before we started, one of the things I've learned is I have to shut the TV off. I can't, and that includes my phone. Shut the screens off. And the bombardment from social media and the regular mainstream media that will make you insane. I mean, every single day, one headline is worse than the next. And then I walk outside and the world seems to be going just fine. And so I think it really is, can you cut out the clutter and the noise and focus just on what you have to do? And BUD/S seems to be probably, it's considered among the hardest training in the world. Certainly military, but probably anywhere. Is that pretty much kind of the approach? And the guys who don't make it through either didn't really want to be there, or just couldn't focus on just the evolution, getting through it.
Yeah, it's the one thing we didn't have in BUD/S was distractions. You didn't have time for it. If you let distractions get involved in your life, it'll mess your life up. I mean, you just look at the TV, and we talked about this earlier. I bet half of your audience, if not more, if they just shut the TV off, because all the TV is doing is creating division around the country and creating fear amongst people. If you just shut the TV off, you don't even know that stuff's going on. In my opinion, a lot of it is not going on. The media is creating it, getting in our minds, and now we're thinking about that when we should be focusing on our lives, our objectives, our families. instead of all this fear mongering going on. So the first thing I would tell people is you're right, eliminate all the distractions. In Buds, we didn't have distractions. We didn't have time for distractions. We were focused on what we were doing. And by the end of what we were doing, we were so tired, nothing else mattered. We just wanted to recuperate. So back to what you're saying is one of the best things you can do is eliminate all the distractions that are unnecessary in your life.
And even later, when you actually are a SEAL, when you're actually deploying, direct combat or even not, how focused are you then? I mean, I would imagine you have to be focused
Well,
on.
Yeah, you're locked on. You have to be. As we were talking about before earlier, we've been in situations where what you do, whether you pull the trigger or not, it's a split-second decision. And if you have, in our case, if we have a lapse of anything mentally, you could get killed because you weren't on high alert. Now, the thing with being all jacked up like that mentally is you get drained pretty quick. So, you can only go so far. You have to train your mind mentally. The only way you can, it's in Buds, for an example. You go in there at a certain shape. And I was young and I was running around. I was a kid. I was athletic. I was tough. I could do a lot. But you have to, as you do things, you get physically stronger. But the only way we could get physically stronger is we had to get mentally stronger, because your mental process is what helps you get through the physical part. When you reach a breaking point, for example, on a run, I'm like, I can't run no more. I can't run no more. Physically, you don't think you can. That's when your mind takes over. That's where your mind gets tougher. When your mind gets tougher, you can go more and more and more and more. So the physical capacity, mental toughness also helps create more physical toughness and that alertness, because you're always focused on something. And in a wartime situation or in high threat environments, you have to be focused all the time, at least in our world. I mean, there are times you can take mental breaks, but there's certain times that you cannot, for sure.
No, but I will tell you, there's a lesson in there, especially because we're facing, not you and I, we don't do tax returns, but for those people right now staring at tax season, my advice is you need to shut down at a particular time and recoup overnight. This idea that you're gonna go till midnight, get up at 5 because Eric Green gets up at 5 and I'm better than him. So get up at, and then plow away, you will burn out. And what most of the listeners are doing is detailed work with real consequences. And so one is you need to be well rested, well fed. I actually did a whole thing, Steve. I said the greatest diet advice I can tell people: eat real food, drink water, sleep.
Take some vitamin supplements.
Yep, you don't need to fast. All this nuttiness that Atkins, whatever. Eat real food, drink water, sleep, and vitamins certainly don't hurt. And same thing here. A part of this is sleep. If you want to be on your game when you need to be, if you think about it, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So for at least for what the audience is doing, so make sure that you plan this through so you don't burn out. But as far as focus, you also don't want to go. And again, Steve, I'll let you comment on this, but one of the comments you had made in going back and forth, you guys go out, you're focused on, okay, here's the objective. How are we going to get there? How are we going to get out of there? In my mind, the translation of that is you don't want to go into your day without a plan, right? If you get up and, like, for instance, the days for some reason, I have not had a plan. Those are the days I work all day and nothing gets done. It's 6 p.m. and I'm like, what have I done today? Because I was just reacting. What I do is I'll come in for 5 hours, I'm not answering the phone. It goes to my assistant. I got to get work done. Now in the afternoon, stuff I needed to do got done, stuff got out the door. Now I can start, filling in, reacting, maneuvering, doing whatever I need to do as far as other things that are on fire. But what I needed to do got done. You don't want to go in without a plan. And now after dinner, realize now I got to do 5 hours of work because nothing got done today. Right? That's not a recipe for success.
No, and it's just like in our world, even when I was in the teams and, I still work with kind of special units now. And before we do anything, we always have a mission plan and we always do a risk mitigation, and it's similar to the same thing. And to add on to that, as far as the mental toughness portion of it, and I don't know how the tax world works in your world, but let's just take a number. Let's just say you have to get, or you want to get 10 tax returns done today, but you're physically or mentally only able to do 6 or 7, but you try and push 10, 10, 10. That's where you're going to make mistakes. That's where you lose focus and people get in trouble for that. So one of the things is you have to understand what you can and cannot do, what your limits are. And why I see a lot of people getting exhausted and tired. And like you said, it's a long run. You might be able to put up for that for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, but then you're gonna break down and you're gonna wipe out for 3 days, and then you got to start all over again. Where if you come up with a plan and say I can only do 6, and then 6, 6, 6, 6. Sorry, I apologize. I should never have used that number. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. The next week you might be up to doing 7 a day. And then 2 weeks after that, you might be up to 10 a day. And within a month, you're doing more and more and more. That's how you build your mental toughness and keeping your focus, and you're getting stronger by doing that. And it all starts with having a plan, but understanding what your limitations are and what your capabilities are. Yep. And if you keep it within that, you're not going to get overwhelmed. And it's back to what we're talking about is keeping things small. If you can only do 5 a day, don't think you're going to do 20, because that'll overwhelm you. And then before you know it, you're just overwhelmed and you're not getting anything done, just like you said. Well, that's how I see your world.
Well, and you said something very interesting to me, which I think applies. So one guy doesn't plan your mission, how you're going to get there, extraction out, all of that. You have a whole team and people take pieces of it. So if you are somebody who says, I can only do 5 or 6 returns a day, but I really would like to do 10 these days in our world, Steve, okay, well, I've got every technology under the sun. There are other people. How do I set up my team so I can accomplish that 10? I can have somebody else doing the input. I can have somebody else doing the final packaging out to the client. So if I can break this down into steps, right? So that I can accomplish what I need to accomplish. I can now, with leverage and with automation and with other things. So again, we're talking now focus on the small, but before tax season even kicks off or before any project, you want to plan, how are we going to do what we need to do? And you plan that, and then you go and execute that. So first of all, you have a goal, right? The goal is whatever it is. I want to do 10 returns a day. I want to generate $500,000 of revenue. Okay, how am I going to do that? And you start breaking down the steps that you need to do that. Now it's no longer just a goal. You now have a plan. And now what you do is you go execute the plan. This is why I found so much of what you and I, Steve, we talk about, it really applies to civilians. It applies to business. It applies everywhere. Sports teams, right? How are we going to do what we need to do? And what do we need to do between here and there, to get there? And then you start executing those steps. And one is, I think when people have a plan, it's less overwhelming, right? Just execute the plan, focus on the next evolution, just get this done, get that done. And at some point you'll turn around and be like, holy shit, I'm 75%. I'm wherever it is, I'm way further along than I thought. But it also will prevent you from getting overwhelmed, because I don't have to worry about the other steps. I got to get this done. and then
Right.
this, and you just start knocking that stuff off. And when you can do that, my experience has been, you can get a ton done. I mean, you can accomplish a whole lot.
Well, if you look at your audience, and it depends how big their organization is, their company is. When I was a chief of platoon and we got a mission, first thing we did is we put a warning order together. And all the warning order was, all right, this is what we need. This is what our potential operation could be. And from that point on, I start assigning people. I've got guys, get weapons ready, get ammo ready. I got another guy that says, go get the intel. I got another guy, go work on the boats or the engines that we need. I got another guy, go get the parachutes ready. I've got another guy, make sure we got all our medical stuff. I got another guy, hey, make sure we have all our comm stuff. Because I can't do all that. I can't get the weapons ready. I can't get the parachutes ready. I can't get the dive rigs ready. I can't get all the intel. I can't do it all myself. You have to be able to delegate if you have an organization that can do that. But again, it starts with having that plan, being organized and being able to delegate if you have those people. But you have to have a plan in order with a goal in mind to achieve that goal.
The other thing is everyone on your team also knew what the goal was.
Right. That was the purpose of the warning order, or you guys could probably say the morning meeting.
Yep.
If you guys have a morning meeting, like, all right, guys, this is our objective for today. This is what we need to get done. I need you to go do that. I need you to go do that. And if you're in that position, but even if you're like, if I'm in charge of the dive locker and I need to get all the diving stuff ready, I got somebody with me that can help me split up those tasks. So it's being able to use your resources, or allocate your resources, use your people. But again, it all boils down to knowing what your goal is and having a plan to achieve that goal, and break it up into anybody's. You got your long-term goal, your medium goal, and your short-term goal.
Mhm. And also, you had mentioned to me, we were talking about this, breaking down the tasks into their simplest form. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Just, break this down into, here are the tasks we need to do, like you said, and delegating those to actually get this much larger thing done.
Right. And it could be as simple as just creating an outline. That outline could start out with, I've got 10 tasks I need to complete. Then take each one of those tasks and break it down into a step as far as you can. And then what is your actions for each one of those? And as soon as you break that task down, go and do the same thing for each task. Now, once you've done that, you can go right back to the first task. And it's like the Chinese box method. You pick up a piece of paper, you don't put it down until whatever's done on that paper is done. Then you never have to pick it up again. So if you finish that first task, take those steps, complete that actions. And once you completed that, then you go right to the next one. And it breaks it down into, smaller bites. And then that helps people, one, be organized, and it helps them accomplish things rather than putting it off. And then by the end, or towards the end, you're going to realize you're not overwhelmed and you're 3/4 of the way done with what you have to do. And the rest of the day is like, oh, this is easy. I got plenty of time to finish these next two or three tasks.
Right. And it's funny how when people get overwhelmed, they want to put things off.
Because they're confused.
Right.
And they don't have direction. And what distractions and being overwhelmed is you don't have a focus, and therefore you get nothing done. And what you do get done, it's probably not really that good. You're going to have to go back and probably redo a lot of the steps. So if you just take your time, break it down, focus on one thing, complete that thing to its best, move on to the next one, people will be surprised how much further they'll get ahead, not in the day, but in their life, if they just take that approach.
Yeah, it's funny. I've mentioned on the podcast the idea, similar. How do you get into amazing shape? You don't go to the gym for 8 hours. You just hurt yourself. What you do is you go to the gym for 30 minutes. but day after day after day after day, it's becomes routine discipline. And you will just, and you know, few months in, all of a sudden, you're not huffing and puffing going up the stairs. You're in better shape. And by the way, for those of you who need to get into shape, you'll find you do much better at work with a clear head and when you're feeling better.
Yeah.
But it is a matter of setting up routines, disciplines, setting up a game plan to work through and just knocking out those steps one at a time. And it's easy to say, it can be tough to do, especially if you're in the middle of it. So for everyone listening to this, you've got probably 4 weeks to breathe. Now is a good time for you to be sorting out what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. And
Organize your material.
Yep.
Yeah.
And organize your clients. Oh, and by the way, just as an aside, so Steve, everyone has people that show up, April 12th. And I don't want to go on extension. So here's, for those of you listening, my ongoing advice is, fuck you. If you come in after April 1st, you're going on extension. All right, I'll get back to you in May. And a lot of this is, you, just as an aside, is you train your clients. Your clients will behave the way you've trained them to behave. So if you have allowed them to show up at the 11th hour and now it's your problem and you're going to be up till 2 a.m. When I was young, I used to take that as a badge of honor. I work till 2 a.m. Now I'm like, if I'm not in bed by like 9:30, something's wrong. It's middle age. And so, you have to, if you've trained your clients that way, you need to start retraining them. And I would do it with the opening letter. We're not doing returns that come in after April 1st. We will put you on extension. By the way, you're paying for the extension. And we'll pick it up in May after I've taken my 2-week vacation. And you will begin retraining your clients and getting your practice under control. Right? There are a lot of people whose lives are just out of control. And this would be a great year if you want to set any kind of new what do you call them? Every New Year's resolution, it's to get your arms around your practice. And that would be a good way to start, get control of this thing, and it'd make it more manageable. My last thought, and Stevie has nothing to do with what we're talking about, is any of your clients that you rate as D's and F's, fire them. You don't need to work with them. It's your practice. Work with the people you want to. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, just, I pick my clients. My clients don't get to just pick me. So if you have those clients, the ones who are just sucking your will to live, now would be a great time to get rid of them. Just send them a letter saying, we're too busy. We will be unable to handle your stuff. If we have anything, we're sending it to you. Best of luck finding another preparer. All right. There are 28,000 H&R blocks. Let them go somewhere else. So, with that, I guess, Steve, as final thoughts, the idea of, I'm talking in terms of tax people, but really anyone who's got something they want to accomplish, break it down into tasks. I love that you would say, what did you call it? The Chinese box, where once you pick it up, you don't put it down till it's finished.
Right.
Which will, a lot of people lose a lot of time picking up and putting down and then revisiting it and picking it up. If you can just pick things up and knock them out, that would be a huge time saver. But for folks to avoid getting overwhelmed, set goals, figure out the steps, focus on each of those steps, and just knock them out one at a time.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that you mentioned is, when you're talking with your customers, is, and it just dawned on me when you said it, when I went through BUD/S, so when we go through BUD/S, our instructors mold us. They mold us into what we want. Now they're doing it for good reason, because to get into special warfare and stuff like that. But it's an interesting point that what you said with your people that have tax firms. I think you're 100% right. If they're more of a problem than you, find the people that is going to help you be productive instead of chasing them. There's so many different directions I can go off of that, but and I hate to say this, but people are sheep. People will listen to you if you tell them. They're so used to listening to what the government says. They'll do everything that the government says, but they won't do stuff that will benefit themselves. So if you get in a habit, and this is one of those being mentally, improving your mental toughness and developing a plan. If you go in there with a letter and you go on your people and you explain to them what you expect out of them, then they're going to respond to you. Hey, I need your information by this date. Be bold about it. The one thing about they talk about SEAL team guys is they said, well, you guys are arrogant. And I said, well, we're not arrogant. We're just very confident in what we believe in. We have a mindset. In order to succeed, you have to, and to me, arrogant is a term where, I'm rude and I don't like you. I don't look at it like that. If I'm arrogant, it's because I've got confidence. I know what I'm doing. I know how to accomplish it, and I'm going to get it accomplished no matter what it takes. And people will view that as arrogance. I would say to your listeners is have the confidence. Just go in there and tell your clients what you need them to do. And if you don't do this, I'm going to work with the people who will do it. So that's a very good point that you brought out.
Oh, listen, I mean, one thing that, couple thoughts. One is I've had some of the more senior lawyers who I knew when I started out tell me, and at the time it makes no sense. It makes total sense now. You make more on the cases you don't take. Meaning the cases that come in and you can see this is a train wreck waiting to happen. I got better things to do with my life and my stress and my time. No thanks. And, the other thing is no one ever died wishing they spent more time in the office. Right. I mean, we have, I have, the one thing about the whole COVID thing is there are some senior lawyers in my area who died, got very sick when it first started. It was weird. Somebody died of pneumonia. I was like, really? I just saw him like 4 days ago, and it happened very quick. I think they were the initial people who got before we knew anything. I'm pretty sure none of them at the end on a machine were wishing they could go back and do more work. So if I'm gonna spend my most precious asset, which is my time, doing this, work is tough. I'd rather do it with people I want to work with than people I don't want to work with. And so just part of taking control of your practice is you get to control who you work with, right? And under what terms you do that work. And don't be afraid if they're going to walk good, let them leave. You get somebody else.
There's plenty of people. My wife and I have the thing is when we meet new people, if they do something stupid, if they act out of character that we're used to, that's a red flag.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they start talking about money issues. We're like, ooh, that's another red flag. And now we get wary. And then if we get 3 red flags, that's somebody we don't want to associate with in our personal life, because we don't want to deal with the drama of somebody else's drama.
Right.
And that could be a good thing for anybody, even in business. Hey, if this client, ooh, red flag. Hey, if this, he's got another red flag. That's drama written all over it. You're never going to get anywhere with that person. You might as well save your time, your effort, your energy, and your frustration. And like you said, direct it into the direction of the people that want your help.
Right. Exactly. Life is too short.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I mean, money isn't everything. I think relationships are more important than money. So if your clients, if you got good relationship with your clients, that's, in my opinion, that's better than trying to make money off them.
Right.
Because you'll help them and they'll help you. You're helping each other, and it's all based off of relationships.
And by the way, they will also become your biggest sales force.
Word of mouth is the best way to get business.
Well, happy clients are the best referral sources for other happy clients.
Yeah. I mean, some of the things my financial advisor was through a friend of mine. Most of my contacts that I do business with were through, people talking well about them, how well they treated them. They told me, I go and interview them, and yep, makes sense. There's a green check mark right there,
Yep.
so.
No. So listen, Steve, thank you for taking the time out. I'm looking forward to us actually getting together.
Yeah, so am I. I
next
really
week.
am.
My parents are excited. And for everyone listening, I think the lesson here is do not get overwhelmed. It's good to step back, have your big plan, but then what you do, lay out the steps you need to take, focus on those, execute those. You'll come out on the other side much happier at the end of this tax season. And you'll realize once again, there's way more money to be done in representing people than doing returns, but still, do returns. And everyone listen, thank you for listening in. Steve, thanks for taking the time. And
my pleasure. And I wish everybody listening to this happy holidays. Enjoy time with your family, because I know you guys are going to be busy after the holidays. And like you said, get organized, but enjoy yourself, what you're doing.
Absolutely. All right. And everyone listening, thank you. And talk to you next week on the Tax Rep Network. Thank you.